Hello, hello, everyone, and happy Sunday. Welcome back to my live. I am Shevvy, and I'm streaming on Instagram at SMM Realty Group, KW Montgomery, and also here on YouTube on my YouTube channel, SMM Realty Group. As you all come in, say hello. If you're joining me for the first time, let me know, hey, this is my first time joining you live. Definitely appreciate you joining me today. If you joined me yesterday, thank you so much for coming back. And if you are a first-time home buyer, drop a 1 in the chat, and that means, like, hey, you're thinking about purchasing a home this year in 2024, whether that's in 30 days, 3 months, 6 months, or before the year is over. Definitely drop a 1 in the chat, and thank you, Just Lovely Place, for joining me on Instagram. Appreciate you joining me every single day so far. So thank you for that. I definitely invite you all to invite a friend to this live because all this month I will be here at different times, okay? But I will be here every day this month, the month of February, sharing insight on what's going on in the real estate market, things for first-time home buyers and also things for sellers. Well, but thank you for dropping that one in the chat. Just lovely lace. And before I get into what I'm going to discuss today, which is all about, should you live in a HO community, which is the homeowners association community, and I will share with my pros and the cons of choosing to live in that community if you're a first-time home buyer, or even if you're buying your second home or third home. Maybe you already experienced that, but if it's like you're really thinking about purchasing a home and you were like, hey, what about maybe a HOA? I will share some insight on that very shortly. But I'll introduce myself for anyone who's brand new. I am Shevvy Mack, and I am part of the KW team here in Montgomery, Alabama. And as a realtor, I'm excited to serve individuals who are ready to purchase a home and sell their home because maybe they're pregnant or maybe they're got a divorce and they like want to just kind of clean slate because I've been there, so I definitely understand. Or maybe they are moving due to military obligations. So I'm a 22 plus years, 8+ years Air Force retired veteran, Air Force veteran, already retired, and I'm here supporting individuals who are ready to purchase, buy, and sell their home in the Montgomery and the surrounding areas. So if you are relocating here as a military member, reach out to me because I definitely understand the challenges, especially when you have kids, to make sure you are able to find a great community of people that you can support, have support from, but also where you can have a community where your kids are able to just kind of meet other kids and connect, because it definitely can be challenging for military young kids that are transitioning back and forth from different states to this other, different bases and so forth. So today I want to talk about, should you live in a HOA community? And as a first-time home buyer, you may be aware of this, or you maybe have heard of it before from people talking, but you're not very familiar. Okay, what exactly does that entail? And for me, when I purchased my first home back in 2010 in Virginia, I was not aware of, HOA because I was used to renting, but now I wanted to purchase my first home. And not knowing what is something that you want to make sure that you are aware. It's like, okay, what are the the HOA rules and regulations and process, which when you go to your closing, all of that is part of your closing contract, like all of the things that you're supposed to be aware of. And in that moment, you're not even thinking about all the things. Yes, people are sharing with you, your realtor's there, the bank person is there, the everyone is there, but you're just like, okay, where am I signing? Where am I signing? And you're just gonna sign. Yes, you're hearing things, and you're gonna get all these documents and paperwork at the end of the day. But when you move into your home, that's when you settle in and you're like looking at the documentations, and you're aware before you even sign the documentation, like, hey, this community is HOA community. But a lot of times you're not really ingrained with exactly what are all the things that fall into this specific category for this specific community. So when I lived in Virginia, and things that we had to do for the HOA, and HOA is just an organization that when a community is first being built, decide the voters, the buyers and the builders decide, okay, this specific community, we are looking to make it a HOA, and then they make it a HOA. And then from there, anyone that buys a home in that community now falls under that rules, regulation processes. So you can't say, hey, I purchased this home, and even though it has the HOA laws in place, you cannot be like, hey, well, I don't want to be part of that. That means you don't want to buy the house in that specific community. Hold on one second, y'all. Okay. Y'all, that was my 4-year-old coming up looking for my iPad. Like, girl, go sit down. If you're a mom, you can relate and you're trying to work. I'm like, I am working. Like, this is work. But they don't care. Yes. Let me read something in the chat that just Lays mentioned. I always get a lot of mixed reviews when it comes to HOA because people feel like they can be very demanding. What are some perks of living in the HOA? Great question. So, yeah, some people may find it as like controlling, demanding, and want to just share my experience. So it depends. Honestly, as the buyer, you have to decide whether you want to live in an HOA community or not. And for me, I've purchased 2 homes personally. My first home in 2010, and then my other home in 2021. And both of them are in a HOA. Well, the first one was in a HOA community, and there was an annual fee. Well, actually quarterly fee. So it was a quarterly fee. I believe it was like $150 per quarter. And the perks of living in it for me, for HOA, is the fact that it keeps the value of that home up. So if you're really looking at buying a home and living in that home for 5 to 10 years, or you feel like, okay, I want to use this home as a rental property, investment property in the future, then definitely you want to make sure that it is in a community where the value is going to maintain. Because what I've seen from my own experience is by living in an HOA, yes, there's rules, yes, there's processes, yes, there are things that you can and cannot do, but the value of your home is maintained. Because you have to look at, okay, if it's not HOA, people get kind of do what they want to do. They can leave their trash out all day long, which again, as buyers are shopping and they're traveling, they want to look at a community that they feel like is safe. They want to look at a community that is clean. They want to look at a community where the upkeep of the homes are well, and that drives the value of your home. So imagine when you go into a neighborhood and you see the neighborhood looking a certain way, you can tell there's no HOA because nothing is regulated, nothing is in place for them to maintain their home. And with HOA, that is what it does for home buyers, is to or homeowners, is for each individual to maintain their property, their home, to a certain standard. So that's, just think of it as a standard of keeping the maintenance of your home from your front yard to the outside of your house. Even sometimes the inside, altering the inside of the home, can definitely adjust the home. So you definitely want to make sure that when you are looking at purchasing an HOA home, a house in an HOA community, you want to make sure that it fits your need, because it's not for everybody. It is not for everybody. So you have to decide, okay, do I want to abide by these rules? Because you have to abide by the rules. Okay. It's like being in the military a little bit, because it's like in the military, we have rules. When I was in the military, there's rules that we had to follow. We couldn't just disobey the rules. And if we did, we got in trouble. Same thing with HOA. If you disobey the rules, like for example, you have to cut your grass and it has to be cut to a certain length. I remember in Virginia, we got actual fees, late fees, for like maintenance fees for the grass, because the grass was not cut in a certain time frame because it was overgrown. So they will fine you, and the fine was like maybe $25. But that's every time they come around and they see the same thing. Guess what? That's $25 added on, so that's $50 now. And then if you're still not cutting your grass, it's the same thing. If you have your trash outside and it's not trash day, you're gonna get they do give you a warning. Like honestly, they do give you a warning. They do let you know, hey, this is the rules. It's kind of all they do is kind of let you know, hey, this is the rule. This is what you should not be doing, and this is what you should be doing. So as long as you're able to abide by those rules, like it's not a problem. And if you're fine paying that quarterly fee, and some companies wants you to pay yearly. Like for example, the HOA, the community that I'm in right now, I pay yearly, and that fee is $500 for the year. So if you break that up into, quarters, probably what, like 150 per quarter. So it all goes back to you and what you desire as the buyer. But some additional thank you for joining me, sweetie. 29 on Instagram. So thank you for joining. Invite a friend. And also let me know if there are any questions. Today I am talking about, should you live in a HOA community as a first-time home buyer? Okay. And I talked about, kind of like what it is just an organization that really sets standards in place to keep the community that you're living in and the home to a standard, which I like. And sometimes, yes, it's frustrating because you're like, why can I not do this? But as the buyer who purchased their home, you agreed when you signed that contract to say, yes, I will obey and follow the rules of the HOA. And after a while, what I've learned with HOA, after a while, it transfer ownership to the community, to the people who lives in the community, and we as individuals end up making the rules and so forth. But in the beginning, there's an organization that's overseeing the process, and then, when that community is fully built up, that's when they kind of like transfer all the rights over to the homeowners. And another benefit of having being in an HOA community is that you have things that are built to support quality of life. So for example, when I lived in Virginia, my family and I, we had a clubhouse. It was a pool. They had a tennis court. They had a trail for walking and biking. So the money is being put back into the community to build up, again, adding value to the home. And even here where I live in Alabama, same thing. We have a pool. There's a tennis court. There's no bike trail yet because they're still building. But there's also, you can rent out certain places, the pool for your kid's birthday party, or if you just want to just kind of have like a event going on. They have a beautiful park for the kids. So really look at what is the HOA organization doing in this community. If there's nothing being done, then of course, as a community, you can complain. But really look at what is the end goal for you as the buyer, as a first-time home buyer, and what you want to do, what you want to have for that specific community, or live in that community and for that home. So really look at, do I want to pay this extra fee that I'm going to be paying yearly plus my mortgage? And for me personally, I don't mind it, because I am looking at, if I decide to sell my home in the future, the value is going to be there. The value is going to be there. And when I transfer ownership, I am no longer responsible for that HOA. So you're only responsible when you own the home, when you're actually living in the home, or you still have your name on the title. Even if it's an investment property that you're renting out, you are still responsible for the HOA fees, which you will include that into your rent, of course. But another thing, some things that you may not like for HOA, I will say the cons. I kind of share a lot about the pros. And again, if there are any questions, drop them in the chat. So the cons for, HOA is, like, you can't just make changes to a house. Like sometimes you just want to like, for example, if I want to build a garden in my backyard, I can't just go and build a garden in my backyard. Like, I have to reach out to the HOA, organization, and say, hey, this is what I'm looking to do. And then they'll let me know whether or not it's something that is doable within the HOA regulations and processes. And they'll say yes. And then before I implement, they'll say, okay, well, send us a little floor plan, a little plan of what is it that you're trying to do. For example, we were trying to build a concrete slab for the backyard, but in order for me to do that, I had to say, hey, this is, looking at my actual yard floor plan, sketch out a quick little thing of what I was doing, who was going to be providing the services, and that could be just me. And then I would send it up through an email, and it was approved. So it's not hard, it's not challenging unless you make it that way. And people still do things without the HOA rep knowing, but at the end of the day, if they do find out, again, you're probably going to get a fee. Also, for example, like the fences, it has to be wooden fence. It has to have a certain
dark color to it and stain. So there's regulations, but again, it's keeping up the standards and the value of that home. So if you're really looking at buying a home that's going to increase in value, the maintenance is going to be maintained, not just you, but everyone in the community, because again, everyone has to follow the rules within the HOA community. So that means your neighbor is not going to impact, their house is not going to impact your house, because guess what? They are following the same rules. So their house is going to maintain the same standards as your house. So keep that in mind. So you have to decide as a first-time home buyer whether or not you're going to pay that extra fee of $500, $600, and depending on the state, depending on where you're at, some may be cheaper. Some may, if you look at an older community, it might be lower. But if you're looking at a brand new build community, it might be a little bit higher on the higher end. So you have to decide, okay? So yes, today was all about sharing, should you live in an HOA community? I talked about the pros and cons. The pros is the value of the house is maintained. There's things for incentives from pool, tennis courts. Sometimes you may see basketball courts. Depends on how big the community is. So the bigger it is, the more amenities and things you're going to have in place for everyone to enjoy. And also, the value of your home, your neighbor's home is going to be very much equal and maintained because everyone is following the same standards. But the con is you can't just make changes because you want to change something. You have to go through a process, and it's not a difficult process, honestly. So I don't mind paying that extra HOA fee. And sometimes I get it. Yes, it is frustrating, but depending on what you're trying to do and how quickly you're trying to do it. But if you have a good organization, it should be like checks and balance. But yes, any questions before I call it a day? Because my 4-year-old is like, I need you, mommy. Let me know if there are any questions in the chat. If you're coming back, #replay. If you are considering purchasing a home in this year, definitely drop a 1 in the chat. If you're relocating from a different state because of military, definitely reach out to me. I'm 22 years plus Air Force veterans. I can definitely support you because I definitely understand the challenges. But yes, if there are no questions, I want to thank you all for joining me. Again, I will be here tomorrow at a different time because you never know what's happening. But I'll be here on my YouTube channel and on my Instagram channel. So definitely join me on either platform. And if you would love to connect with me, if you would love to learn more about what's going on in the Montgomery and surrounding area within Alabama, because you are looking to move here, or maybe you're looking to buy or sell in Prattville, Wetumpka, Montgomery, or Prattville, definitely reach out to me because or even Selma. So definitely reach out. But as always, thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Shevvy Mag, and I'm a realtor with KW Montgomery, and I'm excited to help you purchase your first home or your second home, and also help you to sell your home. And if you are relocating from a different state due to military duties, I would love to support you in helping you with that transition as well. All right, y'all. Well, thank you for joining me. As always, I will see you tomorrow. And also, click the link in my bio, which I will, if you're on Instagram and if you're on YouTube, you can just click the link. I actually put it on my email. You can email me as well too, if you have any questions. Yes. All right, y'all. Well, happy Sunday, and I will see you all tomorrow. Have an amazing day. Oh, book a call. That's what I meant to say. Like, click the link in my bio to book a free consultation, and then I will share with you or answer any question that you may have, or you can just send me a DM if you just want to just ask a few questions. All right, y'all. Well, I'll see y'all tomorrow, and happy Sunday.